Being prepared for an emergency means thinking about the needs of all the members of your family, including pets. Take a few minutes to check out the information on ready.gov, specifically addressing tips and tools for pet owners. As you put together supplies for your family's emergency kit, be sure to think about the well-being of your pets. Include food, water, and medicine to sustain your pets for at least 3 days. Visit ready.gov for a complete list of suggested items, along with recommendations for how to prepare an emergency plan that includes your pets. Remember that pet food and medicines can spoil, so check your kit regularly to make sure everything in it is still fresh. In the case of an emergency, you may be able to stay in your home, or you may have to evacuate. It's important to have a plan for either situation. If your family and pets have to wait out a storm or other disaster at home, identify a safe area of your home where you can all stay together. Put your emergency supplies in that room ahead of time, including your pet's crate and supplies.
The single most important thing you can do to keep your pets safe is to take them with you if you have to evacuate during a disaster. Oftentimes people think their pets will be more comfortable or somehow safer at home. This is not the case. We've seen so many situations where people think they're going to be gone for a couple of hours and then you are not allowed to go back to your home for days or sometimes even weeks. What's going to happen to your pet if you leave them behind?
Consider checking with your local animal shelter or emergency management office to determine if a pet-friendly emergency shelter will be set up near your location. Many emergency shelters only allow service animals, so advanced planning is key. Make a list of boarding facilities and veterinary offices that might be able to shelter animals in disaster emergencies. Include 24-hour telephone numbers. Another way pet owners can be prepared is by developing a buddy system.
With a buddy system, what you're doing is you're making arrangements with your neighbors and friends to, in case of a disaster, that you'll take care of each other's pets. So if you're not available to get your pet from your house, one of your buddies will be able to go into the house and get your pet.
A Pet Inside sticker is an effective tool for alerting first responders that there are pets inside your home. Your pet should be wearing up-to-date identification at all times.
It's extremely important that your pets are identifiable. So you want to make sure that all your pets have collars, and on those collars you want to have tags that have your name, your address, your cell phone number is extremely important.
It may also be helpful to put the phone number of an out-of-town relative on there, just in case you're not able to be reached in the event of a disaster.
Microchipping is a particularly effective way to identify pets separated from their owners in an emergency.
Getting your pet microchipped is really crucial to keeping them safe in a disaster situation. A microchip is a small device that can be implanted painlessly under your pet's skin, and it can be very inexpensive as well. If you're separated from your pet in a disaster situation, they might lose their collar and they might be taken to a shelter that's far away from where you live. At one of these temporary shelters, it would be very easy to swipe a scanner over your pet's microchip and all of your contact information will pop up, making it much more likely for you to reunite with your pet.
There are many things to consider when preparing your family for an emergency. By taking the time to also consider the needs of your pets, you can have the peace of mind knowing that even the smallest members of your family will be ready.
After seeing many sad situations where people left their animals behind, it's really wonderful to see people making pets an integral part of their disaster planning process.
With a little bit of planning, you can make a big difference and you can keep everybody, including your pets, safe.
Check out the information for pet owners on ready.gov and get started preparing today.
These days, disaster preparedness is on many families' mind, and it's important for you to have a plan of evacuation for your family and for your pet. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some of the more important things for you to have for your pet to make your evacuation plan safe and comfortable for your pet. The first thing we want to make sure that we have is a secure carry-all bag. This one is insulated and it is waterproof. It has a zipper lining with it and is a great basket to carry all of your important medications and documents in. We want to make sure that we provide at least a day or two's worth of water in our evacuation plan. We also want to make sure that we have some safe food, the same kind of food that your pet is normally eats. Make sure you take a day or two of this food and have it in a zip-locked or waterproof bag. And we have to feed our pets and water our pets in something, so a container that's easily foldable, doesn't take up a lot of room, and can hold water or food in an easy manner is certainly recommended. And at least one food bowl and one water bowl will take care of the food and water for your pet. So we want to put that in there also. Another important object to include is any type of medications that your pet normally receives. Some medications are required to be refrigerated, and if your pet is required to have a refrigerated medication, make sure that you carry a frozen ice pack. It lasts for a couple of days in a insulated container. So place your ice pack in and put the medication in comfortably on top of your ice pack to keep it nice and cool. Other medications that your pet may need on a daily basis or maybe on a weekly or monthly basis, things that are very important such as heartworm preventative or flea control, make sure that you carry a small selection of these as well. Ask your veterinarian to give you maybe a week's worth of your dog's or cat's medications so that you can have them available in a zip-locked waterproof bag as well. Certainly important to take your pet's documents with you, and your pet's documents should be kept also in a plastic bag, zipped, or some permanent sealing. You want to make sure that you include your veterinarian's name and address, and make sure that you include your name and address and phone number and maybe an emergency number in your pet documents. Your pet documents should include your most current vaccination status for your dog, such as your rabies, parvo and distemper, leukemia, or upper respiratory viral vaccinations on your cat. Make sure you have that along with any other type of health care documents, such as when your pet was last seen, allergies that your pet has problems with, any other health care concerns that a shelter or a veterinarian not familiar with your pet may need to know. Fold these up and place them in a brochure or a pet docket, and make sure that they are again in a waterproof bag or container that has been sealed. And place this in your bag as well. It's really recommended to have a current picture of you and your pet, and that will give you, if your pet is found separately from you or separated from you, it will let the shelter or the veterinarian know that you and your pet belong together. If there's any identifying things on your pet, such as a white paw or a blaze or an ear that perhaps has a notch taken out of it, make sure that you show those up. Make sure that you have a clear facial view of you as well, so that identification of you and your pet can be made. Place this in your bag as well. And because identification is so important for our pets, we want to make sure that we have a very sturdy collar, and the collar should certainly have your rabies tag and any other type of identification. You can have a tag that has your name, address, and phone number. And if your pet has other identification, such as a microchip, make sure that the microchip tag and number is on your collar. Another good idea is to provide a waterproof tape covering over some information that has, again, your name and address, phone number, and even more importantly, perhaps a friend or a relative who doesn't live in your exact area, someone that will actually not be affected by the disaster that you may be experiencing. So wrap this in a waterproof tape and make sure that this collar is firmly attached to your dog. Now, we don't want the collar to be too tight, but if it's too loose, collars have a tendency to slip over the head of the dog, and a dog can escape or a cat can escape. So it's not a bad idea, and we strongly recommend having a collar on and a comfortable halter that can easily contain the trunk or the torso of your cat or dog. This will make it sort of an insurance in case your collar slips off, that you have a secondary restraint device, and this is a great idea to make sure that your pet stays safely with you without escaping. These ideas, and there are others too, are simply meant to make sure that your pet is safe during evacuation or when you may need to be able to take off without a whole lot of forward warning. So keep something like this close at hand. Keep those things available that you can keep in here. Make sure that if you have refrigerated medications or other medications, you keep them together in a convenient location like a medicine cabinet or your pet's food drawer, or someplace that is familiar to everybody. It's important to have a pet carrier for your cat or small dog to make sure that as you evacuate, your pet can go safely with you and not get lost or loose from you. If you have a pocket pet such as a gerbil or a hamster or a small bird, a small cage is certainly a great idea to have available to put your pet in. And we hope that you don't ever have to have an evacuation with your pet or a disaster that occurs in your area, but it's better to be safe than sorry.
The news about the spread of the Zika virus has been concerning and scary for some. At CDC, we're working around the clock to protect your health and learn more about the virus spreading in South and Central America and the Caribbean, including the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Here's what we know. Zika mainly spreads to people through the bite of an infected Aedes aegypti mosquito. Zika is not spread through routine, direct person-to-person contact, although there are at least 2 documented cases of transmission through sexual contact. While Aedes mosquitoes can be found in many areas in the continental United States, primarily in the Southeast and Gulf Coast region, they are not transmitting Zika here so far. And while we expect to eventually see some local transmission in the United States, we expect that will be limited based on what we have seen with similar mosquito-borne diseases. Only about 1 in 5 people infected with Zika virus actually get sick. Symptoms typically last a few days to a week, after which the virus leaves the body. Even among those who have symptoms, Zika virus usually causes mild illness. And symptoms include fever, rash, joint pain, and red eyes. At this time, there's no vaccine or treatment. As Zika spreads throughout the Americas, Brazil recognized a surge in cases of a devastating birth defect called microcephaly. Babies with microcephaly have smaller than expected head size. Laboratory tests suggest Zika may be linked with this condition. We understand this news is concerning, especially to pregnant women and their families. CDC is working in partnership with Brazil and other countries around the world to undertake research so we can better understand the connection between Zika and microcephaly, as well as Zika and other poor health outcomes. The best way to avoid getting Zika is to avoid mosquito bites. Wear long-sleeved shirts and long pants. Stay in places with air conditioning or that have screened windows and doors that keep mosquitoes outside. Use EPA-registered insect repellents like DEET and picaridin, which are safe for pregnant and nursing women and for children 2 months of age and older. Wear clothing and gear with permethrin or purchase permethrin-treated items. Eliminate mosquito breeding grounds by removing standing water. Until more is known, CDC recommends pregnant women in any trimester consider postponing travel to areas with local transmission of Zika. The list of these areas can be found on the CDC website. CDC recommends men who live in or traveled to an area with Zika virus who have a pregnant partner should abstain from sex or use condoms for the duration of the pregnancy. Pregnant women who travel to one of these areas should talk to their doctor first and strictly follow steps to avoid mosquito bites during their trip. For more information about Zika, visit the CDC website.
It's an emerging disease that has spread significantly into Central and South America, and it's causing major alarm at the World Health Organization. Welcome to Watch Mojo News, the weekly series where we break down news stories that might be on your radar. In this installment, we're counting down 10 crucial facts you should know about the Zika virus. Number 10. What is the Zika virus? The Zika virus is a mosquito-borne disease, which has been known to occur in some parts of Africa and Asia since the 1950s. It causes an illness known as Zika fever, which is likened to a mild form of dengue fever, and has been linked to microcephaly in babies, which is a neurodevelopmental disorder characterized by the sufferer having an abnormally small head. In 2015, the virus outbreak spread to the Americas, prompting the World Health Organization to express alarm. Quote, "The level of concern is high, as is the level of uncertainty," said WHO Director General Dr. Margaret Chan. On February 1, 2016, the WHO declared it a global public health emergency.
Of international concern.
Number 9. How does the virus spread? The virus is mainly spread by the Aedes aegypti mosquito, found in the tropical and subtropical areas of the Americas. However, due to climate change, a species known as Aedes albopictus has been moving into North America as well, and can be found as far north as the Great Lakes. The Aedes mosquito usually bites in the morning or late afternoon, and the WHO has issued a series of recommendations to reduce the risk of being bitten and contracting the Zika virus. Those living in affected areas have been told to use insect repellent, wear light clothing, and to cover up as much skin as possible. Number 8. Which areas are affected? The Zika virus is mostly found within the tropical equatorial belt. Historically, it has existed in parts of Central Africa, India, and Indonesia. The 2015-2016 outbreak has caused the most concern in Central America, though, and northern regions of South America. Since the outbreak, Zika has been reported in Colombia, French Guiana, Mexico, and Venezuela, as well as many more South and Central American countries. Nations worldwide have strongly advised people to rethink any travel plans they may have had for infected regions. Number 7. What is microcephaly? Microcephaly is a neurodevelopmental disorder linked to the Zika virus, typically defined by the sufferer having a head circumference 2 or 3 standard deviations below the mean average for his or her age and sex. Microcephaly can cause abnormal growth of the brain and is especially dangerous for newborn babies. The condition, which can develop in the first few years of life, often leads to severely impaired intellectual development and can cause problems with motor functions and speech development.
With an epidemic that appears to be just beginning.
Number 6. Who is in danger? Pregnant women have been identified as particularly in danger of the virus, with some countries already advising women not to get pregnant at all. In El Salvador, it has been suggested that women delay conception until at least 2018, and similar limits have been put forward in Jamaica, Colombia, and Ecuador. In the U.S., officials have specifically advised pregnant women to postpone any travel plans to Zika-affected countries. Quote, "When we have no other tools to use right now, that's about the best advice you can give," said Michael Osterholm of the University of Minnesota. Number 5. How do you know if you've been infected? Though there is no specific test widely available to identify the Zika virus, the disease's symptoms are similar to those experienced during dengue or yellow fever, and it may cross-react with antibody tests for those viruses. If you're at all suspicious that you have been infected with Zika, a blood or tissue sample must be sent to an advanced laboratory within the first week of infection. However, initial symptoms are usually fairly mild, with only 1 in 5 people infected experiencing any notable difference, including fever, rashes, and joint pain. Number 4. How has the world responded? The World Health Organization has said that Zika is, quote, spreading explosively, and has anticipated that it will spread in every country in the Americas, excluding Canada and mainland Chile. Cases have been reported in the former because of travelers, but the virus is unlikely to spread in these two countries because the mosquitoes do not live there. As there is no vaccine available against Zika, Authorities worldwide have focused on controlling mosquitoes and have urged communities to pull together in an effort to curb infection rates. Nations from all over the planet have asked their residents to stop traveling to Zika-infected areas, and Canada has asked blood donors to delay donating blood for at least 1 month if they have recently traveled to affected areas. Number 3. How will this affect the Rio Olympics? There is real concern within the WHO and from other medical advisors in relation to the upcoming Olympic Games to be held in 200,000 of those being Americans. There is massive potential for a bite-to-bite large-scale spread of the disease that otherwise may not have occurred. Number 2. Is there a cure? There is no cure for the Zika virus, with treatment focused on symptom relief. Similarly, there is no cure for microcephaly, though progress has been made to ensure that sufferers are able to live with the condition. Despite the illness being close to dengue fever, experts are cautious about whether any vaccine could be adapted. Companies including Inovio, Hawaii Biotech, GSK, and Sanofi are all at various stages of development for a Zika vaccine. But Sanofi has recently underlined the current approach. In a statement, it said, quote, "There are too many unknowns about Zika to reliably judge the ability to research and develop a vaccine effectively at this time." Number 1. How will this end? Scientists are expected to continue developing a cure for a disease which some estimates say will affect up to 4 million people in the Americas in 2016. For now, the focus is on containment rather than cure, which is why the 2016 Rio Olympic Games is becoming a cause for alarm. It's unclear for how long affected countries will advise women against getting pregnant, and how significantly this will alter national populations in the future. Furthermore, international reluctance to travel to the Americas is likely to continue until the threat of Zika has been significantly reduced, which is clearly bad news in terms of tourism. In the meantime, countries all over the world are working to prevent Zika from entering too aggressively into their borders. Did these facts get you thinking? To vote for which news story is covered next, head over to watchmojo.com/suggest. And be sure to hit that subscribe button for more newsworthy top 10s published every week.
Once there was a little boy who liked to visit his friends, the trees.
Hello, tree.
Hello, boy.
How's the little fella today?
Now, the little boy had a lot of fun with his friends and learned some very interesting facts about the trees. Their roots hold vital soil in place and prevent erosion. Their leaves replenish the oxygen in the air. Their summer shade preserves the moisture. Their falling leaves enrich and protect the soil, making a better world for all of us. Yes, trees are everybody's friends.
And the little boy had a wonderful time whenever he went to the forest.
But there were other people in the forest too, and some were not very careful. One left a campfire burning. One failed to crush out a cigarette. Now, with the forest burned away, the little boy doesn't recognize his favorite spot. He can hardly recognize his little friends.
The fire was out and the beautiful forest was gone. But that was not the end of the story. One day, the little boy got to wondering about things.
He wondered about the birds and the bees. He wondered about the clouds and the rain. When he wasn't wondering about things, he liked to play in the stream. One day the stream ran brown with mud and overflowed its banks. This set him to wondering where all the mud came from.
I'll tell you,
said Smokey the Bear.
Last summer, a careless camper started a fire that burned up a whole forest. When the rain started, there wasn't a leaf or blade of grass to stop the water. There was a great loss of property and wildlife.
This catastrophe taught the little boy about the destruction that comes after a forest fire, and why it's so important that new trees be grown. Now, it just so happened the little boy had a green thumb.
And like anyone with a green thumb, his luck with growing things was amazing. Snapdragons, tulips, radishes, or watermelon. Everyone believed he had some magical power. One day, some people asked the little boy for help. A fire caused by a careless person had destroyed a forest. The people were sure the little boy could grow new trees right away. He hoed, he watered, he sprayed, but nothing happened. There is no magic way of replacing a forest. Trees take time. It's up to all of us to protect and preserve the forests we have. And maybe we can all learn a lesson from Smokey's little friend, who was thankful for his blessings. He was thankful for his good health. He was thankful for the sparkling stream and all his little friends. He was thankful for the beautiful forest. But there were other people who didn't seem to appreciate the forest. They left campfires burning, and they failed to crush out cigarettes.
That's a good job,
said Smokey the Bear.
but it takes more than one junior forest ranger when so many people are careless. Be sure you're never responsible for this terrible destruction. So remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
One careless second with a match, and America the beautiful becomes America the ugly. Please, help prevent forest fires.
Happy birthday, America. Here's a kiss and a squeeze. Thank you a lot for your beautiful tree.
You grew them real tall and put them in forests to help out the carpenters and the squirrels and the floors.
Yes, thank you, America, for the trees in your hair and for keeping them safe with Smokey Bear.
A public service on behalf of the Forest Service and your state foresters.
And Felicia Hansen.
And Charlene Wong. And Sloan Wren.
What a lovely day for a picnic.
How about that spot over there?
Perfect.
I'll go get some firewood.
Don't get lost. We're going to eat some.
Aren't these hot dogs done yet?
I'm just about ready, dear. Come along now, Junior. It's time to go. Papa,
what about the fire?
Oh, forget it. It'll go out by itself.
You wouldn't want bears to be careless with fire in your home, so don't be careless in theirs.
Since 1947, forest fires have been cut in half because people have been careful. From Smokey the Bear and all of us who use the forest, thank you, and God bless you, America.
God bless America, my home
I like the way the forest sounds. The way the leaves rustle in the wind and fall to the ground and crunch under your feet. The way the birds sing and the chipmunks chatter. The way a squirrel scrambles up a tree. That's why I'm asking you to please be careful with fire. Because when we lose a forest, we lose a lot more than meets the eye. I ought to know. I'm Ray Charles.
Hello, I'm Smokey Bear. This is my friend, Thumper. He lives here in this forest. Bambi's family lives here too. It's their home. But sometimes people come here, and they get careless. Please don't be careless. Remember, only you can prevent forest fires. Only you.
Over 2 million years ago, prehistoric man discovered fire. He learned how to cook with it, stay warm with it, even light up the darkest night with it. But he never learned how to be careful with fire in the forest. After 2 million years, isn't it time we acted our age?
The deadliest animal in the forest isn't the biggest, or even the strongest. The deadliest animal rarely travels alone. It fears the darkness, but it's cunning. It strikes without a moment's notice. Each year, 9 out of every 10 forest fires are started by these animals. The deadly ones. The ones with the brains. In the time it takes to grow a tree, you can grow a country.
87 years ago, our fathers brought forth the harvest.
The fear is fear itself.
There goes Tom, the all-American boy.
Benny was born ignorant, and he's been losing ground ever since.
The Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, by air.
Ask what you can do for your country.
3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
It only takes a minute to wipe out a century. A flash and nothing. And even the birds won't come anymore.
My daddy told me when I grow up, I can be a fisherman, just like he is. My daddy told me when I grow up to be careful with campfires, just like he is, and never walk away from one before it's completely out. My daddy told me when I grow up to be careful with matches in the forest, just like he is. Daddy, when are you gonna grow up?
A fish died because it couldn't breathe, because its gills got clogged with silt, because mud ran into the river, because there was nothing to trap the rain, because all the trees were gone, because someone got careless with fire. So please, be careful with fire, because...
Little monster in every one of us that can destroy a forest as long as we treat fire like a toy. Please.
By the time the second hand reaches 12, forest fires will have burned down another 100 trees, unless you help.
Remember, when you're in the forest, you're among friends.
a match comes to life in the forest, a lot of things can die. So please, please don't be careless with fire.
Age, Pumpkin, there were trees everywhere. But people got careless, and every year they started forest fires, and all the trees burned down. Then the birds died. Because without trees, there's no air, so everything dies.
Grandpa, I wish I could bring back the trees for you.
In the city, maybe you've never seen a forest fire or thought much about how it affects you. But maybe you should. Because last year alone, this country spent $250 million to fight these fires and restore the land. $250 million. Now guess who paid for all that? That's right. You.
Remember, only you can prevent forest fires.
Only you can make Smokey's wish come true.
Happy birthday to you.
Place that's peaceful and quiet. A place where animals play. It's called the forest, but every year we start forest fires. A careless match or cigarette and poof, fire. So the next time you're in the forest, be extra careful, okay?
If you knew it was me, would you have listened?
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.